Today, I want to talk about counterbalancing while fasting and how to break that cycle. What do I mean by counterbalancing? Let me give you a real life example. This is something that's happened to me time and time again, and I still have a difficult time getting out of it. Let's say, for example, I told myself I was going to do a 90-hour fast. I have my last meal, I start the timer, and then let's say 36 hours into it, I can no longer do that 90-hour fast and I end up breaking. And instead of just having my refeed and being mindful about what I eat and hitting the timer, I end up binging because I tell myself, you know what, I'm just gonna start tomorrow, and not only am I gonna do a 90-hour fast, now I'm gonna do a 125-hour fast. And not only am I gonna do a 125-hour fast, but I'm gonna make sure that I work out for at least an hour and a half, instead of the 30 or 45 minutes that I told myself I would do previously. This is precisely what I mean when it comes to counterbalancing. You set this goal for yourself, you're not able to hit it, and before you know it, you're performing this really bad habit, whether it's a binge or you're just completely throwing the day away. And to counterbalance, you are now trying to do something even harder than what you initially set yourself up for. When I used to do this, counterbalancing just became a regular thing. Night after night, day after day, I would always say, okay, now the next day I'm gonna do something even harder, something even bigger, realizing that I was just ultimately setting myself up for failure because every day just turned into a binge. And then eventually I wasn't even counterbalancing anymore. I just wasn't doing anything. It's definitely a vicious cycle and still something that's in the back of my mind. But before I dig deeper into that, I wanna welcome you to day 199 of my fasting journey, my health and wellness journey. Tonight, I'll be completing my 7th consecutive 65+ hour fast for the month of May. This morning I weighed in at 142.2 pounds, keeping my weight maintained now for the last 62 days. That's over 2 months of keeping the weight off. 199 days marks over 7 months of rolling fasts. The first 5 months performing 4-day rolling fasts to lose 80 pounds and the last 2 months to maintain it. I'm now 3 65-hour fasts away from completing May's fasting challenge. I'm 80% complete, walking 6 times a week for at least 1 hour a day, and over 90% complete strength training for at least 3 times a week for the month. Now, I'm behind getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night on average, but I have about a week and a half to go, so maybe I can get that number up. Fingers crossed. How are you doing? Let me know in the comments. Have you stuck with me since the beginning of the month? Have you had a hiccup but kept going? Let me know in the comments. Have you practiced imperfect consistency? Let me know in the comments. When it comes to the cycle of counterbalancing, meaning that you set out for something, you weren't able to achieve it, and instead you are now doing something even harder to counterbalance the mistake that you gave yourself, I have 5 tips that might help you break from this cycle. Number 1 is to accept imperfection. I'm gonna tell you this right now, you're never gonna be perfect. Your fasting plan will never be perfect. Your weight loss journey will never be perfect. You have to accept that as fact. The sooner you can accept that, the quicker you can move on in your journey. Just because you decided to do a 168-hour fast, a 1-week fast, and you were only able to get through 3 days of it, doesn't mean that you have to go binge or throw away the day and then instead counterbalance by saying, you know what? Now I'm gonna do an 8-day fast, only to find yourself setting up to throw another day away. Sometimes we have to come to the reality that we're just not gonna hit the time we initially set out for. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we're not gonna get that cardio session in during the week. Sometimes we're gonna eat more than expected on a refeed. Sometimes the scale isn't gonna show us what we wanna see. It doesn't mean we binge, it doesn't mean we stop our journey, it doesn't mean we restart our journey, it doesn't mean we day one everything, it doesn't mean that we wait till Monday. We accept it for what it is and we move on. And I understand that's hard. I understand that is so hard, so difficult to accept because you're talking to someone who has done that time and time and time again. And even though it seems like I have it figured out, I haven't. It's still something that's always in the back of my mind. It's still something that's very hard for me to accept, but I try every day for these last 7+ months, for these last 199 days, to keep going no matter what. Number 2 is messing up builds experience. If you mess up because you only hit 43 hours instead of 65, so what? You've just now gained experience, fasting experience that you can take with you. You can go again and you can think about how that fast affected you, how you could be better about doing that, how you could be better the next time around. Building experience comes in so many ways. You can think about social events that are unexpected and how to handle them. Or maybe you messed up because you had a hard day at work, a long day at work, and it was frustrating and you emotionally ate. Instead of binging or throwing the day away, you can learn from that experience. You can break and not feel guilty about it and still be mindful about what you're eating and then go again. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not building experience, and ultimately you're not building your fasting muscle, because you're only looking at it in two ways: black and white, all or nothing. It either has to be this complete success or it is a complete failure. And that's not how you build experience. That's not how you learn to evolve and adapt in your fasting journey. The sooner messing up happens, the sooner you get to learn from it. The sooner that you know that when this happens again, you can be better about it the second time around. When I gained 21 pounds when I was on vacation for 10 days, you don't think I learned from that? I absolutely did. I took my fasting experience, fasted right after the vacation ended, and then lost 10 pounds in 2 days, and then learned, physically saw on the scale that those numbers were bullshit. 21 pounds in 10 days doesn't mean 21 pounds of fat. Losing 10 pounds in 2 days doesn't mean I lost 10 pounds of fat. That's learning from experience. Despite what other people might have had to say about the way I ate and the way I handled myself, that is me learning from myself, learning from my journey, learning about something that no one else has experienced, and nobody can take that away from me, because that is something that is unique to my journey. That's why I can't give anyone here a scientific way on doing this. The only thing that I know that works for sure is that if you fast, you will lose weight. No doubt about it. And that leads me to number 3. Stop using the weight on the scale as your North Star. The scale is not the be-all, end-all when it comes to weight loss. We know that depending on what we can eat, we can retain water. And the next day after a refeed, the scale might read 3, 4, 5, and in some cases for me, 6 pounds heavier after one refeed. Doesn't mean shit. The 21 pounds that I gained in 10 days didn't mean shit. Sure, I did gain weight. Who wouldn't after eating 10 days nonstop, eating anything and everything? But it also doesn't mean that it was 21 pounds of pure fat. And if you're always basing what the scale says, you are going to have such a difficult time. Use the scale as a guide, but have other things lined up. Think about your non-scale victories. Think about a shirt that's just a little too tight, or a pair of pants that can almost fit and you're just this close. Think about those, put them at the very front of your closet, put them on, no matter how tight it is, take a picture, trust the process. In a week, take another picture, see how it fits. Make that your actual goal. Don't make the scale, the weight on the scale a goal. Make how does this fit week after week a goal. Because believe me, I think that's a better indicator than just what the scale says. You don't want to use the scale solely, because if you do that, a lot of times our actions to eat or not eat are based on what the scale says, and that isn't always the way to go. Number 4, keep hitting the timer no matter what. No matter what. If you're like me and you have issues with eating, then you most likely, my guess is you need a timer to help you to understand and know when it's time to eat and when it's not time to eat. If you're like me in the past, if you don't hit your goal or you don't want to fast anymore, you won't even open the app. You just walk away from it, and then before you know it, you're binging away, or you're not taking care of yourself and you're just eating whatever, and it's weeks, months, or in my case, years before I even get back into it. Hitting that timer for me reminds me that I'm on the clock. This is my time to eat. This is my time to fast. This is my time to eat. This is my time to fast. This is my time to eat. Sure, it can be super annoying when you are not on your game and you're hitting that timer over and over and over again because you're either eating too frequently or you're not fasting long enough, but that shouldn't deter you from hitting the timer. Get into the habit of doing that on a regular basis. Sometimes just doing that and logging the info can start to put this maybe little voice in your head that says, well, you know what? If I'm gonna break, I have to open this app and hit that stupid timer, and you know what? It's just not worth it. Maybe that's what starts happening. Maybe it doesn't, but you won't know unless you do it. And that's also part of building that experience. If you want it this bad, the least you can do is hit the timer. Even if it's an 8-hour fast, even if it's a 17-hour refeed, just hit the timer. It's the least that you can do. Number 5, and it should be no surprise, is to be accountable. It is the one thing for me that has given me success in losing weight, is staying completely accountable. Posting these videos on YouTube every couple of days, posting on social media every couple of days, That is my way to be accountable of where I'm at on my journey. And no matter how successful I am, or if I fail, or if I stumble, I need to be accountable and I need to show up. The exact reason that I went on vacation for 10 days and documented the whole process. I wanted to be accountable. I wanted to let you all know that not only do I succeed, but there are times that I stumble. There are times that I'm gonna gain weight and it's gonna be okay because I'm gonna figure it out. So when I talk about accountability, I'm talking about leaving a comment in the video, letting me know how you're doing, showing up on a Sunday night live stream and talking in chat, being accountable with other like-minded fasters. I have said this many times, but in 2019, 2020, when I got to my goal weight initially, it was because of YouTube, because I had to show up and be accountable. When I slipped up and I was gone for 2+ years, sure enough, it happened because I wasn't accountable. I had no one to be accountable to. All I did then was eat whatever I wanted because nobody could tell me otherwise. I didn't have to show up for anyone. Think of it like a job. You have to show up. You want a paycheck? You gotta show up. This in a lot of ways is no different. Fasting, weight loss, and accountability coaching. Accountability coaching with me one-on-one. You can check the link in the description for more details. I will see you in the next one.